We are on the march. The empire is on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
It's Sunday night. We're live. First, the John Bowden Report.
Every official in Hawaii, Democrat and Republican, every news outlet that has investigated this, confirmed that, yes, in fact, I was born in Hawaii, August 4th, 1961, in Kapiolani Hospital.
So here we are. I'm going to cut this layer. Boom. And now we're going to add it to a different layer on top of that other layer. And now you can see this is a completely different layer, and there's even a missing number on this when you bring this back in. Yeah, so this one was here originally, but then they added these numbers, it looks like. Watch the signature here. Part of the signature's there and part of it's not. They add the numbers 1 here and over here. There's a 3 and a 1 added. You can just see by turning it on and off. You know, there's different letters all over this that have been added into it.
Obama's birth certificate has been proven by 2 leading experts in forensic fraud documentation to be a forgery.
Let me tell you about Reed Hayes, a man with 40 years, since 1974, 40 plus years of experience in examining forensic document, handwriting, a man who's well respected in his expertise, a court-recognized expert, a document examiner. Mr. Hayes told me right off the bat, I'm an Obama supporter. I voted for him twice. He goes, and I will never do anything to hurt the President of the United States. What I had said to him was, Reed, I am not asking you to hurt the President of the United States. I'm asking you to take a look at this document and clear it and tell me there's nothing wrong with it. Would you at least do that? And he took a look at it. And when he called me back, he told me, Mike, I can't clear this. There's something wrong with it. We utilized forensic document examiners, Reed Hayes in Hawaii, and a company named 4Lab in Italy. 4Labs trains law enforcement throughout Europe. 4Labs, everybody in that building is a PhD. These guys know their stuff. And I'm going to tell you what I respect about both of them. Both Reed Hayes and Marco at 4Labs stayed true to their discipline. These men could not be pushed. This is their findings, this is how they see it, and this is how they're calling it.
These births took place in Honolulu during the month of August in 1961, just 16 days apart. The birth certificate on the left belongs to Barack Obama. The birth certificate on the right belongs to Johanna Ani. It is the opinion of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office that the birth certificate on your right, belonging to Johanna Ani, was in fact used as a source document in the digital creation of Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate.
They concluded that it is 1,000 times more probable that the document is inauthentic. They also concluded that if they had a greater sampling, that number would be higher, because they have concluded that that document, it is highly improbable, next to impossible, that you will find another document with every anomaly we just showed you. To Reed Hayes' conclusion, the evidence noted herein is clear and convincing proof that the Obama certificate of live birth posted on whitehouse.gov on April 27th, 2011, is a fraudulently manufactured document. Evidence indicates that this certificate of live birth of Johanna Ani is one source utilized in the construction of the certificate of live birth. Reed Hayes' own words, the parentheses, nail in the coffin, close parentheses, that provides the certificate of live birth is inauthentic, is the exact lineup of numerous entries on both the certificate of live birth and the Ani certificate.
Impeaching Obama now, with roughly 30 days until President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration, seems like a non-event. But if we are truly entering a new era in the history of the United States, it would send a clear message to the criminal despots that have hijacked our government, our media, our medical system, right down to the monopoly money in our wallets, that no matter what diabolical infiltration is waged.
We're now only 32 days out from the historic seating of the 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. But the powers of globalism are pulling out all the stops to try to stop that. I'm Alex Jones, your host. Thank you so much for joining us today. You know, a lot of historians have pointed out that when they go back and talk to the people that lived through incredible historic events, most people didn't recognize it at the time. And what I've noticed is we'll raise the alarm bell about the private Federal Reserve or about Obamacare being a ripoff or about how the globalists plan to open up our borders. And we'll tell people many years before it happens because we're reading it out of establishment white papers or watching meetings on C-SPAN. Most of this isn't even secret. It's just not widely publicized. The globalists pretty much operate out in plain view. But it's so academic what they do, the average person isn't concerned because they're too busy, again, watching the NFL or going shopping. And quite frankly, I don't blame them. But if you want to be free, you've got to be informed and you've got to be focused and you've got to be aware of what's happening. And so much of what we've covered years before has now taken place. And so, yes, people that pay attention, our credibility with them has gone up dramatically. But for those that don't pay attention, it's still somewhat of a novelty. And the mainstream media just kind of makes a joke about us. The standard joke is, oh, Alex Jones, he's the guy that believes in chupacabras and Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster and flying saucers. We don't cover any of those subjects. But when they attack us on The Daily Show or CNN or Vice on HBO or in Rolling Stone magazine or the New York Daily News or the LA Times, it just doesn't matter. They just say, Alex Jones believes that blood-drinking lizards run the world. They don't even have the right person. And the reason they're doing that is to try to psychologically inoculate their viewers into disbelieving and not trusting a straw man that they've built. A great example of this was about 3 weeks ago, NPR. And then publications across the United States began to run a quote where I was talking about Hillary being personally responsible for the rape and murder of thousands of children in Syria by knowingly sending in jihadi ISIS al-Qaeda forces who routinely engage in the type of behavior. And the clip's only 1 minute, 18 seconds long. It's completely self-contained. It's very clear that I'm talking about the Middle East and North Africa. But they take it and cut the front and the end off to deceive their viewers and to deceive their listeners and to deceive their readers. And that works sometimes. But once viewers and listeners have caught them doing it a few times, they don't have any trust anymore. When I was in a restaurant today with some of the crew and having a meeting, kind of a Christmas brunch, because we don't have a big Christmas party this year. We just kind of take each department out. And as I was walking to the bathroom and back, 2 guys said, oh, it's Alex Jones that believes Hillary is chopping up children in the basement of a pizza place. And I looked at them and I said, that's right, and Bigfoot's helping her. Because they were laughing, wanting to have a false victory over me. And I just laughed with them at me because I was really laughing at the fact that they're still under mind control or they think it's going to intimidate me laughing at me. See, I know what I said. I know where my integrity lies. And because people want to have simulated victories in their heads, that's their problem. I've changed the world. I've put out many of the modern talking points that are counter to globalism. I sit there and hear Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, you name it, imitating me, not the other way around. I've changed the world. I've had a big effect. And I don't say that from some position of a power trip. I say that from a position to listeners to understand how much power we have in a world of universal deceit. Telling the truth is a revolutionary and seismic and very, very powerful act, to paraphrase and expand on the words of Eric Blair, a.k.a. George Orwell. But that said, let me get into the big news today. And I want everybody to listen to me very, very carefully because we saw this coming in 1996 because I would read trade publications from the big internet consortium meetings, And I was also being advised by former and current members of the National Security Agency who had become contractors with telecoms. And they said, hey, kid, you're crazy enough to tell the truth? Let me tell you how things really work. Some of them were public, some of them were private. One was James Bamford, former Nightline head producer. The other was Wayne Madsen. But others were private. And that's why if you go back to those shows from 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, right up to 2006, when mainstream media started admitting some of the NSA spying, I told you exactly how the NSA worked, the name of the programs, how they were controlling and predicting the future with the information, how they were manipulating trends, how it was basically mass culture control. And the first time I was talking to one of these big NSA engineers, and he was a wealthy guy, so he'd obviously had a lot of patents and things himself. He said, Alex, have you read the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov? And I said, yes. He said, oh, really? Most people haven't. You know, he coined the term robot, and he coined the robot rules and all that. He goes, have you read it? He goes, have you read the series? I said, yes. He goes, good, then you understand the actual plan. That was an envisioned plan by the Fabian socialist 50 years before Isaac Asimov wrote it. He goes, you're familiar with the fact that they have basically programming in the science fiction. Predictive programming is what it's called, so people accept things when they come in the future. And I said, yes. And he said, listen, look into it. That's the plan with the NSA grid. Now, if you read the Foundation series, a mathematician envisions in the near future, it was like in the 2020s or so, if I go from memory, that they would come up with a math algorithm to predict mass movements of populations if you could data feed their activities into major data banks. And then they went out and they hired all the Eagle Scouts and all the big brainiacs in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s to try to create it once the computers were up to the technological level they needed. Where do you think Michael Bloomberg comes from and his $46 billion? Data mining terminals into the NSA to get all the businesses to pay for, quote, intel, but the businesses actually give intel, which is then data mined into the larger NSA grid. So just like you think you're getting info from Google, it's getting 1,000 times more info from you. So you think the Palantir, which is a real NSA system, is a one-way crystal ball. Why should we be afraid to use it? Because others are lost, and Sauron may be using it, and Gandalf throws the cloak over it. So, see, you're looking into a Palantir, it's looking right back at you, using a child's allegory. So all of that said, when I come back, it's now not my analysis, it's not my prediction, it is now fact of how they're going to censor the web, how they're going to shut it down in the final phases of ending free speech in the United States and Europe. Now, in Europe, they already arrest you if you mildly criticize Islam, leftists, anybody else. They're now doing $500 or announcing £500, third time's a charm, 500 euro, excuse me. No teleprompter here, going from memory. 500 euro fines for, quote, fake news, which is defined by George Soros consortiums that will simply go through all of the information and then basically start finding and feeding you, and then finally removing you off the internet because you're going to have an internet social score, which once it gets to a certain point, you're then kicked off the web and ostracized from the new technocracy. See, they get you in a technocracy, they make all commerce and jobs reliant on technocracy, then they remove you from technocracy. Remember, a year ago, the Chinese came out and said, we're going to have social network scores for citizens. This is the new system of control. Well, when we come back, Communist China, the evidence is clear, is now launching hack attacks against INFOWARS.com, and it gets worse. They're also openly running the rollout of censorship of, quote, fake news in the United States. It's so sensational. You know, it's up to us. If we stand up to the globalists and we scream bloody murder, and if we point out what they're doing, they've got a tiger by the tail. If we roll over and just let them define everything, it's over. Notice they defined the Affordable Care Act as affordable when it was a giant ripoff written by foreign insurance companies to gang rape the American people. I mean, it's a fact that their profits went up 47% the first year globally on our backs. We got groupers saying, yeah, I was hired to lie to the public. Thank God the public's so dumb. Well, I don't think you're dumb. I think you want to be in a free and fair country and you don't know what to do when stuff's so corrupt and you're lied to. And the American people are waking up. But I noticed that about 5-6 years ago when Australia was about to pass internet ID, fake news bans, their reporters that were still in their press that were doing their job said, this is communist Chinese net censorship. And then they found cases where Australian lawmakers with the federal government were meeting with the Chinese to pick their brains on how to bring in censorship. Now, that narrowly failed 5 years ago in Australia. It was big news at the time. And that's what's scary, is that just 5-6 years ago, our media would criticize China when it was censoring the web and arresting members of the press and calling it fake news. Now, you never hear our media criticize their mobile execution vans or criticize their selling organs or criticize the censorship or the arrest of Buddhists for no reason. I mean, they arrest you if you're doing Buddhism in your house and just meditating and stretching. They arrest you for yoga. That's what Falun Gong basically is. It's like that, mixed in with some of the stuff the Japanese do as exercise. It's crazy. But, again, they're threatened by it because they want the state to be God. They want total materialism. Communism is always threatened by spiritualism because it transcends the state. So then I saw Zuckerberg meet a whole bunch last year, a bunch this year. It's a total of 14 times I could find, with the communist Chinese censors to line up Facebook with China's censorship policies and systems and to adopt their systems of censorship. And then he told Merkel in a hot mic, we played the clip like 15 times. I'm not going to play it again. Everybody knows about that earlier this year. He got caught in a hot mic. She said, you got to do something to censor people, criticizing the open borders and the migrants she was shipping in, 2 million of them, Germany alone last year. He said, don't worry, man, we're on it right now by the end of the year. And everybody's like, whoa, that's what Drudge said. Whoa, it's happening. So what I'm telling you is this isn't a stretch. I've got a stack of news articles where the communist Chinese are in the Wall Street Journal, you name it, saying, well, I mean, there's the headline out of Forbes. I didn't even find that one. Print that for me. Doing business the Chinese way, Facebook develops a censorship tool. See, I hadn't even found that, folks. There are so many hundreds of articles admitting that Facebook, well, it gets worse than that. They're not just hiring communist Chinese to run it, that have been successful with a population 4 times the United States. 4 times plus. They're 4 times the U.S. population and then add another 100 million. So, wow. 4 times our population, almost as connected as we are. South Korea is the most connected in the world. And they've got pretty much total control. And they call it, oh, we don't censor fake news, but we arrest you for fake news, too. They're trying to pass bills to arrest people right now for, quote, fake news. Meanwhile, the New York Times this week got caught running not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, more than 100,000 fake news stories. Oh, pull it up. Just type in an article about fake news, they run fake news, and it's an ad. I went and looked it up, how many impressions it got. They admitted it later. Over 100,000 times they ran a fake news story in their articles saying Alec Baldwin was dead at 58. Now, by the way, that ad's not on ours because I have them daily review the Google third-party advertising we've got where they place it on your site. Tim Proget, every day at 7 a.m. when he gets to work, has to go check what they're trying to load into my website. So I'm trying to cut it out. Yeah, there's a headline. New York Times airs ad for fake news, an article about fake news. And then they later had to admit it was over 100,000 impressions, get this, in the one article about fake news. So they had 100,000 people read that, and it was 100,000 times they ran it. That's not counting all their other articles. See, 100,000 sounds like a lot. It was a lot more than that. That's just the one we can look at. So here's the deal. They're running it on purpose, making money out of it. True fake news. There are sites that say I'm dead every week. There are sites that say Matt Drudge, is dead every week. There are sites saying George W. Bush is dead every week. It's not true. Baldwin gone at 58 was the story. We don't do that. The difference is, do we get stuff wrong sometimes? Yes. But see, it's called prior restraint. We have to be proven in a court that we lied on purpose to hurt somebody. Never happened. Knock on wood. I had a guy once say lies about me and say I was a drug dealer and stuff. I had to sue him. He settled in court. Never been a drug dealer, hardly ever even used drugs. Tried this and that out a few times in college. Hated it. I was like, people pay for this? This is horrible. It's like an anxiety attack to take cocaine. Or people think I'm on drugs. I'm on coffee. I'm upset about what's happening. But side issue. I had to sue somebody else. They were messing with my sister when she was still in high school. She's 15 years younger than me, 14 years younger than me. Lying about her. I sued them. I won. The point is that if you want to prove something, put your money where your mouth is. In America, every regime that censors says they're shutting down fake or misleading news. But again, it's all labeling. Just like the communist Chinese come out and call it fake news, or just like Obama calls it Affordable Care Act. It's or now, I've got an article where Bloomberg is interviewed this year telling Slate magazine, there's several others, that he is lying to the public now that he doesn't want to take our guns, and the stealth approach is getting them dividends to undermine the Second Amendment. I have them admitting they're deceiving us by incrementalism. That's how dumb they think you are. And because I ferret around 24/7, digging all this up, showing you they want us shut down. So we come back from break. This affects everybody. But we are under attack by the president, former president, about to be. We are under attack by Hillary. We are under attack by the EU naming us. We are in the Washington Post as Russian agents. They had to retract it. But the EU doesn't care. They're using that list to call for the shutdown of Infowars.com, DrudgeReport.com, and Breitbart.com. And if they could shut us down, folks, you're next. And they've hired Snopes and a mail-order diploma company with 6 employees. You can't make this up. To be the chief advisors to Facebook as their Facebook isn't censoring you. This third-party AstroTurf, non-governmental organization, NGO lapdog, it waved a magic wand and it said so. We're going to go to break here in a moment and come back, but we have the Chinese communist in the news saying censor us, and our lapdog media going, thank God the Chinese, you mean communist Chinese murderers, are here. Not the biggest censors in the world are now running our censorship. Red alert, oh my God, it's like an invasion. No, it's just like, oh yeah, the Chinese are here to help shut down Alex Jones. Thank God, everybody, yeah? Absolutely, man. Can't wait till we have mobile execution vans. It's all coming up. All right, I got a bunch of other really big news I want to get to. But first, I got to break down the meat and potatoes of this. Because when I go to Infowars.com and I go to YouTube, where I have a video posted I shot earlier today dealing with this situation, with the communist Chinese openly putting us on list, financing think tanks to try to shut down the free press in America. And I see people commenting. It's a minority of folks, but they're there going, listen to this delusion. This guy says he's like a big shot or something, like the communist Chinese care about you. We had the communist Chinese 3 years ago directly threaten Paul Watson in person in London, and he doesn't like me to talk about it because it was traumatic, okay? The communist Chinese have taken the world over. They got 98% of rare earth minerals. Have you seen the president attack me by name? Have you seen Hillary attack me and call me dark heart? You think Hillary calls people a dark heart and they don't get messed with? You think I got former Blackwater people as my security because I want to pay for that? I'm Mr. Fearless that's gone out and given speeches for decades with no security. We're changing the world. InfoWars got 85 million video views and radio listens for more than 15 minutes per. I mean, that's true listeners the week of the election. The new floor is 41 million. I'm not bragging. We're in a dangerous situation running a major attack against the foreign globalists taking over this country who want to make you poor. So I want to tell the snot-nosed kids something out there living in their mother's basement at 25. They want you to live in your mother's basement. They don't want you to go out and get a woman and be a man and be successful. And they teach you how it's cool to sit around and laugh at real stuff and laugh at real men busting their butts to try to live in a free society. Is that clear? Now, We have one of the top companies, it's a household name in the country, that supplies stuff for Google, Walmart, you name it. And we've had their presidents on the line. They say they've never seen an attack like we've had the last 3 days. They find it interesting. It's like a big game to them. They kept flipping switches on cloud systems to hundreds and thousands then of servers to finally stop the level of attack. Massive state run. They had to flip servers to the level that Visa and MasterCard have nationwide to stay up. We're on the same system as Visa and MasterCard. That's what it took. Visa and MasterCard power, boom, to stop it. The entire frickin' dark army of China going, nah, to knock us out. Because I'm on air pointing out that they're in the news and no one even cares. Oh, look, honey, it says in the Wall Street Journal, the Communist Chinese are helping run this and are advising our government on censorship. What? And then I see articles going, what, you don't like Chinese people? You know what? The next piece of garbage says that. I'm going to punch him in the nose metaphorically. I don't have to play race card. My sister's Korean adopted. I was brought up to be colorblind. It's the Chinese that are super racist towards outsiders, including the Japanese half the time and vice versa. And I love everybody. The point is, stop thinking tribalism only goes on with white people. We're the folks that tried to stop it and end it. Doesn't mean we don't have problems either. But I'm sick of the ignorance and I'm tired of it. The Communist Chinese have killed over 100 million of their own people, 84 million under Mao. They have suicide nets around thousands of factories. They work women and children 16, 18 hours a day. The left doesn't care about new footage of little kids working in slave labor, sometimes to death in North Korea. I want to play that later, by the way. I forgot to tell you about that. It's all over the news. I was telling the crew to get it. The left's like, oh, good, it's a communist utopia. But don't let homeschooler kids carry the trash out, or it's forced labor. They want to handicap you. They want to control you. They want to dominate you. So the amount of money I've got to spend and the amount of money we lose having our shopping cart shut down for 2 days, I want everyone to go to InfoWarsStore.com. By the way, no one ever got in as a hack-wise. It was DDoS attacks and a bunch of others they don't want me to get into. Some stuff they've never seen before. Purely synthetic bandwidth. Not even real stuff. They were like, what the hell is this? They had the FBI was running around trying to figure out. It's stuff they've never seen, okay? Now, oh, yeah, China's now using weapons we've not seen yet, okay, on us. Well, of course they are. They know the president listens. They know I talk to the president. They're all crapping their britches. They know General Flynn's a listener. You think only General Flynn's a listener? You think you kick General Flynn out? The next one will come in is even more hardcore. There's finally a voice. Finally someone on air that understands the attack plan. I'm willing to take them on, and I've got the backing and support. And the stinking commie Chinese can't stand it. Because I get historians on who expose how the CIA put them in power in 49 and how the Rockefellers set up a deal in the 70s with them to leverage out, and the secret global treaty that's now being leaked. And they're not going to get the Panama Canal anymore. And they're not going to get one-sided deals and 98% of rare earth minerals. And they're not going to get to have 15% lower corporate taxes so we don't have any jobs. We're going to equalize that. And they're freaking out. And they go, who's doing this? And they go, Alex Jones. And they're like, take him out. Let me go over some headlines for radio and TV viewers just to break this down for you. Communist China moves to shut down Infowars.com. Fake news censorship originated in China. Document can, please. That is on Infowars.com. My report from earlier today when I wasn't so angry. Okay? I'll give you a document can. I'm going to show a bunch of articles. Okay? Here's the next one. Angela Merkel caught on hot mic confronting Mark Zuckerberg over racist Facebook posts. That means criticizing socialist or open borders. That's Bloomberg pushing it, spinning it. He promises to censorship. Don't worry. Okay? Here's another one. This is Forbes. Doing business in China. Doing business the Chinese way. Facebook develops a censorship tool working with the Communist Chinese. Forbes. Here's another one. Mark Zuckerberg caught on hot mics, what I told you about. German politicians want €500 fines over Facebook fake news. Zuckerberg lauds socialism while China's internet censorship czar meets with them 14 times to align the program of censorship. Wall Street Journal. Fake news is rampant even under tight Chinese filters. We don't hear about China filtering anymore. That's not an issue, or China censoring. No, now they're doing their job, and our media is like, darn, we wish those Chinese could do a better job censoring their evil people. See how they flipped it by labeling. Tripling your health care cost is now affordable, is now free. You didn't build your business. Your mother and father didn't raise you. The state is. They're just telling you this. It's not China intensifies censorship but fails. It's China can't even shut down these fake news people. The New York Times says, what happens when a country cracks down on fake news? Ask China. That's PC World. Oh, and they say, oh, yeah, China was the first to do it. And, oh, they're the model of it, just like I told you. It says one country feels vindicated. They've been proven right. Now that America's going to censor, like China, the Chinese Politburo and Central Committee, it actually says it is vindicated. And you go see every major movie about science or technology, and it's China that saves the day. And it'll show the Politburo and red flags. Our people see that and go, what is that? That's showing their capital saving America, their government saving us because we're idiots. In every major movie that comes out now, from The Martian to Arrival to you name it, it'll be the Politburo going, and they'll go, President, the Americans are incompetent. And they'll go, save them. And then they'll save us. Every major movie now. All propaganda, buying up the 6 Hollywood firms. Listen to this article. The current debate over fake online news has one country feeling vindicated. Oh, not our government now has collapsed to China. China is taking over and following orders from them. Massive censorship. Major tech giants are now capitulating to China and agreeing to global censorship. China lectures Americans in Wall Street Journal to shut down alt-right. Total emergency. Our government's linking up with the Red Chinese to help censor Americans. Unbelievable. Using the Chinese black dark army to censor websites. Oh, my God. Now the NSA's teamed up with China to censor the Patriot movement. Donald Trump's had to put all this stuff in himself, by the way, because he's under daily attack. No, none of that. Americans unite. Americans come together. No. It's all, thank God the Chinese are vindicated and can help us shut down that pesky Alex Jones that hadn't killed one person. But it's all how violent and bad I am because I won't roll over. The current debate, this is PC World. Oh, the current debate over fake online news has one country feeling vindicated. China, for years, its controversial censorship system where they kill people for speech, has been cracking down on so-called online rumors. And last week, a state-controlled newspaper essentially told the U.S., I told you so. Yeah. That's the article. I'm trying to find that one. I couldn't. It was all over our news at the time where they said, I told you so, you better do more. And then it just goes on. Oh, will we adopt killing people for their speech, too? It's so progressive. Michael Bloomberg and George Soros, two basically tax-exempt globalist kingpins who are anti-American, spend all their time trying to overthrow our Bill of Rights, have given billions of dollars to overturn our elections. They now have their Everytown initiative, where they gave millions and millions of dollars to defeat Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He's coming up in the next hour, joining us to talk about that, to talk about the Obama birth certificate, which was fake on purpose. And we're going to go over all that. That's why Michelle said he was from Kenya in speeches up until 2007. It's why in the Harvard Law Review that he edited for 3 years, as that editor, he said in the intro, I am born in Kenya. My father is Kenyan. That was his cover. That guy looked nothing like him. We just knew he said he was born in Kenya, and his birth certificate was fake. It was all a cover from his dad, Frank Marshall Davis. But the point is, we don't know his real identity. That's why he has 5 different aliases. I mean, this guy is unbelievable. We know his mother and grandfather were CIA. I mean, her father probably was the CIA section chief there in Hawaii. But it just gets crazier from there, folks. It's just totally crazy. But they've now had top forensics labs, after a multi-year study, come out and conclusively prove that the birth certificate they released is totally fake. Hell, they left it in layers on purpose so we'd know that. But we now have it certified. And a lot of these labs, obviously, were scared to have this released till Obama was about to be out of office because this is bombshell. And I thought people wouldn't care, but I said, okay, have Arpaio on, do a special live report Thursday on it. It had like 1 million views on our 2 YouTube and Facebook channels. And then a derivative of it had like 300,000 views. And I thought people were sick of the whole birth certificate. I'd love to have Arpaio on just about being targeted by Soros and by Bloomberg, his last 2 elections, and they finally won, probably with a lot of hanky-panky evidence was showing. But they tried fraud against Trump, but his tsunami was so big they failed. So Arpaio's coming up, also with one of his detectives, a separate detective we've had on before from a separate jurisdiction that also helped launch the investigation a few years ago. But before we go any further, if you're a new listener, I just read to you from the BBC. I just read to you from PC World. I just read to you where they're like, oh, it's wonderful. China's been proven right with its so-called censorship, stopping fake news. That means arresting people and executing them. They've arrested tech writers for major papers in China who criticize the stock when it goes down, and they kill you. Talk about crazy land. So we're now under censorship. Now look at this BBC article. China's social credit, Beijing sets up huge system. This was last year. We covered it, Drudge covered it, and we said, watch, they're going to bring this social credit system here where the government and corporations can lower your score from a 5.0 to a 4.9 and right down. And once it hits a 2.5, mortgages are more. Everything's more. It's a social control system right out of a science fiction dystopia movie, The Mark of the Beast. And this is their control system, which they're now pushing here in the United States. Now, here's an example. We're partnered with YouTube because we have billions of views. I didn't do it for years. They approached us. One of their vice presidents did 3 years ago. And they said it'll no longer be bots that strike you for copyright and stuff. It'll be real humans you're working with. And I said, good. We've had no real problems since then. We're a trusted company. We have good material, good news, no lawsuits, no issues, no copyright stuff. We are partnered with YouTube and Google. And I know Google's big and globalist. It's been the least bad of the others. They're now getting on board the censorship. We probably won't be there very long. But the point is that while we've been there, we've reached billions of people. And we're going to fight to stay there. Because they operate as it's an open commons, follow the rules, then you'll be here. Well, we have. This is tilting the rules to say, you know what? Doesn't matter you've got a long history. Doesn't matter you've done all this great work. Doesn't matter you reach billions of people. We're going to have a group funded by Soros say you're fake, and so you're going to be banned. Or you're going to be restricted. Or when somebody tries to visit your website, it's going to have a message that pops up in the browser saying, don't go here, it's dangerous. That's already happening on Google Chrome. Till I told Google I'm filing a lawsuit, they took it down the next day. They're probing to see what we'll put up with. Reddit is not stopping the deep burying of our links, violating their terms of service. Even when their own users do it. So I don't want to go into the lawyers. I don't want to have to do it. But I'm figuring out who I'm going to sue right now for violating all of our rights. The Communist Chinese, they don't follow copyright, nothing. They don't follow any laws. They steal intellectual property. It's well known. But Obama doesn't have a problem with them. He's trying to bully the Russians because they're not as strong as the Chinese. But the real sadness of PC World and others going, boy, China's been proven right on censorship. Or I'm sorry, so-called censorship shut down fake news. That's a good thing. And now we're going to follow what they say. Thank God. China's crackdown on online rumors a few years ago was harshly condemned by the West, wrote the Global Times. Things changed really quickly as the anxiety over internet management has been transferred to the U.S. Yeah, the ruling corrupt elite, like the ruling corrupt elite in China that wants to stay in power, is getting kicked out of power, so now you want to censor things. That's the giant elephant in the room. That's the incredible bombshell. Not my opinion. Our government, illegitimate, is trying to overturn the election of Trump. Right now, is trying to say ban Trump, trying to ban Alex Jones, ban Drudge, because we're kicking the living daylights out of them with truth. They're all over the news saying, I'm violent, I'm going to cause violence, while George Soros gives billions to insurrection groups that call for killing police officers. The government is rogue. It's completely out of control. There's an attempt with patriots in the government. And I'm not somebody to worship government, but here I am being proven wrong. It's the patriots in government that recognize what's happening that are trying to countermand this and trying to block this right now. There is a war over the heart of this country and our future. That's not rhetoric, people. If massive history was staring you in the face, would you recognize it? It's happening now. Look at this. The Wall Street Journal, the BBC, all of them praising it. To Forbes' credit, they're not praising Chinese net censorship coming to America. Actually being honchoed by the communist Chinese, being driven, being run, being captained, being commanded, being advised, being consulted. It's sensational. The People's Daily 2 weeks ago that they just mentioned was in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the AP, was everywhere, lecturing us on how to shut down fake news and bragging that they were helping Facebook, Google, and Twitter do it. And you see the purge on Twitter, the purge on Reddit, the purge everywhere, with the EU wading in, the high court saying you have 1 day to tell us how you're going to start censoring. And a day later, the censorship started. And then armies of bots running around saying, Alex is lying, there is no censorship. He's not important. The communist Chinese wouldn't hit him. I'm talking to the top IT people that handle our stuff, and they're saying, we really don't want you to put out what the attacks are, but if you really want, we'll certify a report. I've got the report right here. Exactly how they did it, where it came from, everything. And I'm looking at publishing it tomorrow. I'm looking at it. I got to talk to them after this broadcast. I was up at 2 in the morning on this. I was up at 6 a.m. on this. I've been up on this constantly. They've never seen an attack this big. Ever. And I'm on the phone. Do you want to go to 100 cloud systems? Yeah, 100 cloud systems, they're knocking it down. You want to go to 1,000? I mean, you know, you now have more than the major credit card companies. And then they told me stuff that's in confidence, and I'm not allowed to tell you. Let's just say the FBI is involved, and let's just say the president knows about it. President-elect. There's only one other person been hit by something this big. I guess I'm kind of telling you that it wasn't in total confidence. Some of this I can't tell people. It's too incredible. You think they're hitting me hard? Imagine how they're hitting Trump. And I'm talking about whitehouse.gov. I'm talking about his new makeamericagreatagain.gov. I'm talking about donaldjtrump.com. It's the only other place getting hit with this new stuff that isn't even, it's synthetic bandwidth. It's not even real request. And it's coming right out of the commie Chinese. Just because we want fair taxes and a level playing field with you. Oh, that's incredible. So what I'm asking listeners to do is I want to be able to announce tomorrow that despite the fact that they made us lose the amount that it would take me to hire another employee, which I'm planning to do just in the last 3 days. This is our key part of the year where we go into the black. Free shipping. I'm extending it throughout the rest of the week. Was going to end tomorrow. Store-wide, 50% off colloidal silver. A bunch of other items are 30% off, and I'm going to keep it all up there till everything sells out. Plus, it's a great way year-end to sell out of everything so I don't have inventory taxes to pay. InfoWarsLive.com. InfoWarsStore.com is the big umbrella site. Again, when you go there, it waits about 10 seconds. They never got into the site itself. It's totally secure, highest security level. They have to black hole all these IPs and redirect all this stuff and check you before you go in. And so that's why you sit there 5 seconds before you go in. We have a backup site as well. So just support us, get the products. And I want to announce here that we've made double what we lost in the next few days as a victory against the murdering communist Chinese and a victory for America and the fact that we will awaken the sleeping giant as modern Paul Revere. Stay with us.